All right. It's showtime. We're live already. I'm streaming on the Digital Librarian's YouTube official channel today. And I want to say welcome. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to every one of you, depending on where you're watching us from right now. I want to say welcome to week 2 of this personal development program. Shortly, I'll be showing my face and that of our special guest today. But please, if you just joined, please do well to share this video, invite your friends, and let them know that we are about to start. So, good evening, everyone, and good evening, Marianne. Good to see you.
Good evening. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Very quickly, let me do a recap. I'm going to stop playing this music for a while. And my recap is going to be like this. Last week, we're currently on the 8-week personal development program. So last week, we discussed about paradigms and principles, which happens to be the first part of Stephen Covey's book. So we have dealt with that part of the book. And for those who were unable to watch that part of the program, I would like you to let me show you quickly how to access that particular review. So all you need to do is go to the digital librarian.com/blog. So on my blog, you find out that we have done a review of what we did that day. So if you go there, you will find the whole gist about what we did that day on my blog. So guys, everyone do well to visit this page to see that. So now let's go back to the purpose for why we're here today. The purpose for why we're here today is to discuss the first habit of highly effective people. Please pardon the noise you're hearing in the background. Okay. So before I do that, pardon me, I would love to do a quick introduction of those who will be anchoring this program with me. We can see on the screen already, the person we have on the screen is Mary Ann Mbat. Mary Ann Mbat. And Marianne Mbat is a wonderful person. She's a wonderful friend. I've known her for about 4 to 5 years now, right? So Marianne was my student at Admiralty University of Nigeria. She's a recent graduate, actually, and with a degree in international relations from Admiralty University of Nigeria, Delta State. She actually brings a fresh energy and a commitment to excellence in creative writing, and her proficiency lies in crafting compelling narratives, demonstrating a solid foundation in language arts. And I can attest to what Marianne can do because she has contributed largely and significantly to the university's literary magazine and many other contributions. My time at Admiralty University, where I founded the Adun Luminary Leaders book club with my colleagues. Mary Ann was one of our pioneer ambassadors. She was a very committed member of the book club, and she was helpful in assisting with the library blog, writing content for every opportunity. And it's also good to know that Marianne is a digital marketer. She has digital marketing skills. So if you need someone who would manage your social media handles, Marianne is that person. And today she's going to be doing something unique, which she loves to do. She loves talking about books. She loves reading books. She's going to be talking about the first habit of highly effective people as recommended by Stephen Covey. And that habit is being proactive, being proactive. So
Proactive.
once again, yeah, yeah. So once again, I want to say that if you just joined, this is an 8-week program where we are reviewing the 7 habits that you will need for year 2024. So please do well to like this video, share this video with your friends, invite them to let them know that we have just that we pardon me, that we've started. So all you need to do is, as you can see in the comments, you see a scrolling text. All you just need to do is tell us your name and where you're watching from in the comment section. Whether you're watching this video as a replay or you're watching it live, just please introduce yourself like we have just introduced ourselves to you. So, without further waste of time, we're going right into the book. So, remember, like I said, as you see on the screen, we've done the part 1 of this book. Now we are going into the part 2 of this book. Part 2 of this book has 3 different habits, and the first habit, which we are going to be dealing with, talks about the principle of personal vision. So, Marianne, I'm going to share my screen now. I want to share the book so that we can talk briefly about this book. But before Marianne comes on board, maybe I should just establish a background of this habit. Remember the last time we had this session, that was last weekend, I advised that there's a particular way we are supposed to do this. So in the habit 1 today, we advised to look at ourselves from an angle of our room, look at self as almost as though you were someone else. Like, the usual way where we would judge or criticize people. It's so easy to talk about people than it's easy to talk about ourselves. So one of the approach we have been asked to use in this book is to look at ourselves the way we look at other people, so that we are able to really critically judge and be self-aware. And the ability for us to do this exercise, picture yourself in another shoe, is something that Stephen Covey says that um, only humans possess the ability. Animals actually cannot even do this. And that's what we call self-awareness. Self-awareness. And then he went further to talk about the social mirror and how many of us allow the view of other people just define our entire life. So, and then he like what I have bookmarked here. He says our view of ourselves is like the reflection in the crazy mirror room at the carnival. If the only vision we have of ourselves comes from the social mirror, so that's where people just start saying that you are never on time, you're always late, you must be an artist, you eat like a horse, I can't believe you won. So things like this just begin to reflect who we actually really are. And then I think there's another part here that I really want us to take a look at, and these are the 3 different theories of determinism. I don't want to bore us, but one of them states that some people just say that basically our grandparents did this to us. Our grandparents were like this. It is in their DNA. It's in their DNA. That's why I'm like this. I don't know. Marianne, are you familiar with people like this? If you ask them why are they
That's
hot tempered, they'll say
actually,
my great
yeah,
great grandfather was a hot
that
tempered.
exactly. And then you hear them say
Yeah,
things like you're
and
your father's carbon copy.
exactly. Exactly. So, and then there are the other determinism, the psychic determinism basically says your parents did it to you. It talks about your upbringing, your childhood, those things you were exposed to in your immediate family where you were growing up. Then there's the environment. which basically says it's your boss, those people, your colleague, those people you work with, the secondary people you grew up with, and your spouse, and all that. So these are the basic idea we actually have. And what it's saying here now is, how clearly do mirrors reflect the true nature of man? Is it really true that all these things reflect who we truly are? This Stephen Covey is actually saying no, because by the time people start saying this, we start responding to that stimulus and say, yes, this is what we actually really are. But not until we start living our life from the inside out and taking a different perspective, we can never really bring out the true potential within us. We must not respond to everything. And then there's a story about Franklin, who was a great determinist. It's a huge story that is founded on the whole principles in this particular chapter. You will see how Franklin's the psychology he recommended helped. So he talks about him when he was imprisoned in Germany, and then how he went through a whole lot of punishment. As in this, he even lost almost all his family members, despite everything he was going through. This man knew there was something he found out, according to here. And I said, one day, naked and alone in a small room, he began to become aware of what he later called the last of the human freedoms. The last of the human freedoms is ability to be self-aware, like your ability to choose how you feel, how you respond to anything. And since he was able to do that, he felt like he had gotten the whole freedom he needs. So I would like to round up by saying here that the extent to which we exercise and develop uh, our endowments. Let me just show Marianne. Let me show us something quickly,
Okay.
because I think that will help us understand properly what proactivity means, which you want to talk about briefly now. The habit of proactivity. See how it works. Once there's a stimulus, once there's a particular narrative, let's say your boss is treating you wrongly at work, you can see the stimulus coming the force on you. There, before you respond, proactive people, which is this is the proactive model now that Stephen Covey is recommending. The proactive model says that you have the right. Artificial intelligence cannot do this. Do you agree with me, Marianne?
I agree.
Animals cannot do this. Animals cannot, they
Yeah.
are not self-aware. If you step on a dog's tail, there's nothing that will make that dog not bark at you. Okay, the dog will bark at you. But human beings, they are self-aware, they can imagine, they have a conscience, they have independent will. So these are the things, these are the way that proactive people think and process their thought process. This is what it looks like before they respond. And this is what Stephen Covey recommends as the proactive model. And according to him, all these endowments of self awareness lift us above the animal world. The extent to which we exercise and develop these endowments empowers us to fulfill our unique human potential. So, while I would like to hand over to Marianne now, let her quickly explain to us what proactivity really means. What does it mean to be proactive? Because this is a habit that we are recommending for each other to have. But before she does that, Marianne, I think maybe this video will help you more. So, can we watch this video? It's a short video of less than 30 seconds, I guess, or so. So, let's watch this video quickly and then you pick it up from there.
I remember my grandma's favorite story was about how everything cost 2 cents when she was young. But now, everything constantly got more expensive. And it was all because of the government. These uneducated pigs didn't know how to control prices. And when I was privileged enough to hear the story, her complaining would last for hours and hours. And that's exactly what reactive people do. They always focus on the things that they cannot control. It's not possible that a concept like inflation would exist, and if it did, it's impossible that they wouldn't know about it. On the other hand, proactive people realize, look, even if my complaining were completely objective, it doesn't help me, so I'm going to focus on what I can control. If a proactive person owns a business where he sells a product Instead of focusing on how people these days don't appreciate good products anymore and how the government has horrible regulations, he focuses on how can I improve my product so my customers can't live without it. Do you realize how much responsibility, how much dedication, how much hard work comes along with asking that question? And what do you think our effort minimizing brain is going to pick as default? And that is exactly why most people focus on the things that they cannot control rather than focusing on the things that they can. Habit number 1 is be proactive. Now, imagine you're at a funeral.
All right, thank you so much. So, Marianne, I don't know if you drew a lot of lessons from that short
Not
video.
really. It's basically the summary of what we have here. It is
All right, all right, go on.
in
Just
some.
go on. Let's just hear from you now. Just speak to us about
Okay. So first
yeah.
off, I'm going to start by defining what proactivity is. And it means taking responsibility for our lives and making conscious choices based on values and not on conditions. What this basically means is that as a proactive person, you don't blame your circumstances, you don't blame your environment. Rather, you blame yourself and you ride your own wave. You derive everything that you feel works for you internally and not from external factors. Basically, a proactive person, from what I've understood, because after reading this book, it was really, I don't know, it really paved a way for me to understand what really it means to be proactive. And as someone who sometimes blames her environment for a lot of things, I take it from this Frank that being proactive is actually the key. It's actually better because, for instance, someone who is born into poverty, someone who is born seeing only one square meal, if he were reactive, he's going to think that this is the norm, this is how it's meant to be, this is my situation. I can't change who I am, I can't change where I am. So this is a reactive person, and a reactive person is the opposite of a proactive person. Reactive people are influenced by their environment and others. So being
Mm,
reactive is actually very, very negative because when you're reactive, you are comfortable in a situation where you ought not to be comfortable in. You ought to want to
yeah.
make a change, like a proactive person who was born in that poverty. A proactive person is not going to blame the circumstance. Rather, that proactive person is going to make that circumstance a way for himself or his or herself. So the proactive person is going to ride a wave. Like proactivity just means it means riding your own wave, like surfing your own wave at your own pace on
Mm,
your own terms. It just means
mm,
taking charge of yourself and your life. So based
exactly.
on you saying that, oh, you have anger issues, like you rightly introduced, based on, oh, your father has anger issues, oh, you're your father's son and things like that. Being proactive means you take responsibility for your anger, you take responsibility for your own traits, your own characteristics, and then you work on it. You change
Yeah,
yourself. Unlike reactive
yeah,
people that remain constant. No, you won't remain constant. You continue to be in motion. That's what it means to be
yeah.
proactive.
Okay,
And you don't allow
thank
external factors to influence you.
Exactly. Yeah. Talking about external, there's something you said now that just made me want to draw our attention to this part of the book where it says reactive people are often affected by their physical environment. You talked about that. That is still the external fact, those things they see. You say, for example, a best way to describe them is that if the weather is good today, they feel good. Let's say the weather is not hot, they feel good. But if it's not good, it affects their attitude and their performance, right? Unlike the
Exactly,
proactive
exactly.
people. It says these proactive people, they move with their own weather. Whether it's
Yes,
good,
they
whether it's
serve their
bad,
own
you
wave.
see.
Yes.
Exactly. So that's one beautiful thing. So I don't know. Let's just sequentially into the book and see some other parts or sections of the book, especially the part that talks about taking initiative taking
Yes,
initiative. I don't know
exactly,
if
exactly.
what
So
did you do you think or what did you learn from reading that part of the book? Because I even have a very great example to share here, but let me hear from you.
okay. Okay, so I'm going to take the part where Eleanor said, "No one can hurt you without your consent." That's a very, very powerful line.
Exactly.
No one can hurt
Exactly.
you without your consent because
Exactly.
they cannot take away that self-respect you have if you
Mm,
didn't give it
mm,
out. If you didn't give it to them, they
exactly.
can't take it. Do you understand what
Mm,
I'm trying to say? So a
yeah.
proactive person claims
Mm,
his right. A proactive person claims his character. So it's just like
mm,
in a situation of an abusive relationship. Yes, that's a very good example. An abusive relationship, the partner, or let's say it's more common amongst the female, so the
yeah.
female in this relationship
Yeah.
knows that she is in an abusive relationship. She knows, she is
Yeah.
constantly aware. The bruises on her face are a constant reminder that
Mm,
she is in an abusive relationship. So she is reactive because she is allowing her circumstance to keep
mm,
her there. And then
yeah.
it also goes further here to say that sometimes I am what I am today because of the choices I made yesterday. That is what a
Exactly.
proactive person will say. And only when you can think like that can you actually move forward. Because reactive people, they tend to do the blame game. Yeah, they play the blame game very well. So when things happen, they like to say, "Oh, it's because of this person that this certain thing happened to me." Okay, let's say a thief, for instance, and then he'll be like, "Oh, I stole because you left your phone vulnerable. You left it on your bed, so I stole it." Like, it doesn't. It does a very reactive character. It doesn't really make sense to me because as a proactive person, you need to take responsibility because when you get expelled along the line, you get to tell yourself that, oh, like, because I did this, because this was what I did, I stole. That's the factor there. The factor there is that you stole. So because you stole, you got expelled. So a reactive person is not going to see it like his fault or his or her fault. He's going to think that the person that left their phone there was careless, so might as well just take it. But a proactive
Yeah.
person is saying, no, I am the
Mm,
reason why I am being expelled, and that is why in my next school I will not steal. That is why in my
yeah.
next school I'm going to do things differently, so that because from what it also says here is that this is a
Mm,
very key point that I saw in influence
mm,
that really it made me really see it from a very, very different perspective. Proactive
yeah.
individuals concentrate effort on what they can control and expand their
Exactly.
circle of influence. They they
Yeah. I
they
think. Yeah.
concentrate on what they can do, what is there at hand
Mm,
right now. It's
mm,
just like the weather. You plan, a
yeah.
proactive person now is going to plan to go out. You plan to
Mm,
go out, you had something you
yeah.
wanted to achieve. That's why they said proactive people, they make commitments, they make promises. Those are part
Mm,
of the characteristics of
yeah.
proactive people. So this
And they
reactive
keep those
people
promises.
dwells, yes, exactly, the
Yeah.
reactive people, they dwell on the consent beyond their control. So they made this plan to go
Exactly.
out, but then it started raining,
Yeah.
so there
Mm,
goes their plan. Their plan is gone and they
exactly.
won't achieve anything is done for. But a proactive person still goes under that rain. Sometimes they even make that rain to their advantage. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say, but
Mm,
they kind of turn
yeah.
the situation around to favor them at every
That's
given
it.
time. So reactive
Okay.
people always blaming
Yeah.
their environment and dwelling on circumstances that obviously they have no control of. It always makes it look like they are the victims. In fact, every given time you're a victim. As a reactive person, you are
Yeah.
a victim at every given time. But the
Exactly.
proactive
Yeah.
people, they expand their circle of influence and they take control, they take charge of whatever
Yeah,
it
they
is
take
that they are trying to
initiatives.
do.
Yes, they take initiatives, and
Yes.
if you see, I think
They
for
are
those
very
who
good
are business
problem
people that will
solvers.
be what business people who may be watching this, even family people who may be watching this. I'm going to read out a part I have bookmarked here that may be of help to us. So you see, it talks about he said taking initiatives does not mean being pushy. It doesn't mean it. It does mean recognizing our responsibility to make things happen. So in this part, Stephen Covey recommends something he called the solution selling. And that solution selling, I particularly want to give a clear example. He says, for instance, I have frequently counseled people who wanted better jobs to show more initiative. to take interest and aptitude tests, to study the industry, even the specific problems the organizations they are interested in are facing, and then to develop an effective presentation showing how their abilities can help solve the organization's problem. Marianne, you know Christabel, my wife. Now, this
Okay,
was what
yes.
she did. I particularly am was actually teaching in a secondary school before she gained her job in Admiralty University of Nigeria. So what she did was right there while she was in her home, she had attempted applying for a position in the bursary department before, which wasn't successful. But then she was proactive, and instead of complaining about some of the circumstances that made her not to uh, uh, made that process not to be successful, the proactive approach she took was exactly what was described here about taking initiative. What she did was she sold a solution. She spent a lot of days. I provided this needed support for her. She spent a lot of days thinking of a solution, like made a presentation, and she had the opportunity to share her problems in a proposal to the university management. And through a very organized process, they considered her solutions and proposal, and she got employed in the vice chancellor's office. Do you understand me? She would not
Understand?
have gotten that job if she was not proactive, if she did not take initiative. And going further, Stephen Covey talked about a particular mantra they use in their own home. He says, for instance, when even if one of their younger children takes an irresponsible position and waits for someone else to make things happen for them, they just tell that person, they said, use your arrow and eye. And what is arrow and eye? Your arrow and eye means your resourcefulness and your initiative, right? So the more we continue to do things like this, the more it helps us to be more productive and introduce the positive change that we expect in society. Usually the purple bookmarks in our book, we actually read them out for people to draw lessons from. So Marianne, I don't know if you could take some time to please read this purple bookmark, because we are also trying to form the habits. Can you see the text clearly?
I think I can.
Okay, I'm trying to enlarge it. We are encouraging people to learn how to read. So why this is a review, we are also trying to read out so that those who haven't read this book will be able to assume and say, oh, I know the content of this book. So I don't know, I know it's a little bit long, but can you just try to read? Let's do with the first three paragraphs. If you could just read out loud.
Okay, so the text isn't showing, at least from.
Oh, you can't see it. You can't see it clearly, right?
No, I can't see the text.
Okay. Okay. Permit me to just read it because it's part of the habits
Okay,
we're
yes,
trying
yes,
to
please go
develop
ahead.
so that we actually read. So I'll read
Okay.
this. It's a story. It's an experience of the author. He says, it takes initiative to develop the 7 habits. As you study the other 6 habits, you will see that each depends on the development of your proactive muscles. Each puts the responsibility on you to act. If you wait to be acted upon, you will be acted upon. And growth and opportunity consequences attend either road. Excuse me. At one time, I worked with a group of people in the home improvement industry from 20 different organizations who met quarterly to share their numbers and problems in an uninhibited way. This was during a time of heavy recession. Negative impact on this particular industry was even heavier than on the economy in general. These people were fairly discouraged as we began. The first day, our discussion question was, what is happening to us? What's the stimulus? Many things were happening. The environmental pressures were powerful. There was widespread unemployment, and many of these people were laying off friends just to maintain the viability of their enterprises. By the end of the day, Everyone was even more discouraged. The second day, we addressed the question, what's going to happen in the future? We studied environmental trends with the underlying reactive assumption that those things would create their future. By the end of the second day, we were even more depressed. Things were going to get worse before they got better. And everyone knew it. So on the third day, we decided to focus on the proactive question. What is our response? What are we going to do? How can we exercise initiative in this situation? In the morning, we talked about managing and reducing costs. In the afternoon, we discussed increasing market share. So fast forward to the end of the lesson of this story. Now that, now, what would a reactive mind say to all this? Oh, come on, face facts. You can only carry this positive thinking and self-psych approach so far. Sooner or later, you have to face reality. But that's the difference between positive thinking and proactivity. We did face reality. We faced the reality of the current circumstance and of future projections, but we also face the reality that we have the power to choose a positive response to those circumstances and projections. So my attention has just been now that we did not see that part I was reading. So I believe maybe it
Mm.
was a network issue, but I think we're just going to continue now with you. Did you what do you think about the part that talks about languages? Because languages play a major role. Languages. Do you
Yeah,
remember that?
so yes, I
Languages.
remembered you
Can you see
during.
it on the now? They are the reactive people, the way they talk, and the proactive people, the way they talk. Can we speak about this quickly?
Yeah, so reactive language shifts responsibilities. That's how
Yes.
the reactive language is. They shift responsibility from themselves to other people, while the proactive language embraces the choice and responsibilities that their choice that it comes with, basically. So the proactive language embraces choice and responsibility, while the reactive language shifts those responsibility. Reactive language creates a self-fulfilling prophecy of being determined. Like it's in their head, it's in their mind. It's not what it is. It just happens in their mind that a prophecy of, oh, they are being determined, but they are not. They are not. An example illustrates choosing between having to do something or doing something. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like choosing versus having to do something. So the reactive, they have to do, while the proactive, they choose to do these things because they are in control. The reactive language leads to feeling victimized and out of control. You just feel like, oh, especially when, like we said, when rain falls and you be like, okay, okay, well, I'm going to Netflix and chill. I'm going to sleep because I mean rain fell. I had plans, but apparently rain is falling, or it's snowing, or the sun is too hot. It's like always giving excuses just to feel victimized, and they want to feel really out of control. Like this is beyond my power. Like the rain is falling, it's not something I can control. The snow is heavy. It's not something I can control. So there goes my plans, or there goes my classes for the day. No classes for today. But proactive
Exactly.
people, love is a
Yeah.
verb seen in the
Yeah.
action and the sacrifice, and not just the
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
That is
Thank you
just it.
very
That's it.
much.
So
Yeah.
proactive,
Thank you.
proactive,
Thank you.
they take
Thank
charge
you.
and solve their wave.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those of us that are watching right now, so if you find yourself always saying, there's nothing I can do, that's just the way I am.
Exactly. That is
He
that
makes me
is
so mad.
reactive.
They won't allow that. I can't do this. I must do
Mm,
this. So once you find
mm,
yourself in this category, know that you are using a reactive language and it's not going to help you. Instead, we should start talking about, oh, there's a
yes.
problem. Let's look at
Mm.
our alternatives. I can choose a different approach. These are words of proactive people, and they help you to see things differently. So, and talking about circle of influence, to become more self-aware regarding our own degree of proactivity, we need to take a look at where we focus our time and energy. And if you are focusing your
Mm.
time and energy on things you cannot control, just like Marianne had said earlier, then you are not helping yourself. Okay. So what we should do our circle of influence should be enlarging, not our circle of concern compressing our circle of influence, because circle of concern are
Exactly.
those things we cannot control. Your boss has a very bad attitude. You cannot control that, but you can control yourself, right? Now, yeah, the economy, some people say Tinubu is this, fuel is so amount. You can't control that anymore. But what can you do about the current situation you find yourself? So these are the positive energy that you can introduce to enlarge your circle of influence. So I don't know,
Okay,
do you
so I
have
want
any
to
final
add,
words
I wanted to add something
we
very
take
important, which I found.
the application suggestions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I wanted to add something from the book, where I really advise readers, like our people that are watching right now, please try and read the book, because I want to bring to our knowledge this particular part in the book that is actually very, very relative. I admit that it is very hard to accept emotionally, especially if we have had years and years of explaining our misery in the name of circumstance or someone else's behavior. But until a person can say deeply and honestly that I am what I am today because of the choices that I made yesterday, that person can choose otherwise. It is not what happens to us. Very key. It is not what happens to us, but our response to what happens to us that hurts us the
Exactly.
most.
Wow.
I want to explain that part. I want to explain
Yeah.
because it really touched me when I read it. Now, of course, let's use an instance of somebody that went bankrupt. Okay, somebody that Yahoo Boy scammed. Maybe he had
Yeah.
millions, he worked for these millions and everything. Now, look at what a reactive person will do in this situation. This is what a reactive person will do. I've been scammed. The money that I was scammed on, I wanted to use it to better my life, to take myself abroad, to further my education. Do you understand? I see the language that he's using. These are reactive languages that I really wanted to change my life. I really wanted to do this. And then all of a sudden, oh, they've stolen all the money that I needed to do that kind of thing. So I'm going to commit suicide. And then he climbs a maybe 6-story building, and then he jumps off. And then unluckily for him, he doesn't die. He just becomes crippled like for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Exactly.
That is what Frank is trying to say, that our stimulus and our response, these are the human given, nature given choices that only human beings possess. Animals don't possess this, only human beings possess this. So
How you
that would be
respond.
the response. Yes, how you respond. So that would be the response of a reactive person. Now, a proactive person, now bear in mind that that reactive person has destroyed his life. That reactive person does not believe in this saying that where there is life, there is hope.
There
That
is,
reactive person
yeah.
doesn't believe. He doesn't believe in that statement. So the proactive person, on the other hand, oh, they've stolen my money. Yeah, this money was hard earned. This money, I plan to use this money for a lot of things. Yeah, it was and everything, but he remembers that he can pick his response, and the response that he picks empowers him. It doesn't hurt him and it doesn't change who he is, unlike the reactive person. So this proactive person now decides that the same way I worked hard to earn this money, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to double my effort. Like, I'm going to do it again, because where there is life, there is hope. So I'm going, even if I borrowed it,
Exactly.
I'm going to borrow it again. Even if I beg for
Okay.
it, I'm going to beg again. Like, whatever you did to get it, you will do it again. And that is
Right.
what it means to be proactive. He has surfed his wave, and then he has decided to not relent. He has said to move forward. So, in fact, our most difficult experience becomes they become the stepping stone to which we create an
Wow.
internal power. This that is a
Wow.
freedom to handle difficult situations and difficult circumstances, because now
That's
we
powerful.
now have a greater long-lasting impression of ourselves. So now we did not
Yeah.
succumb to our circumstance like the reactive person now that has completely wasted his life. In fact, what if that scammer had returned the money?
You see, then you everything is in regret.
Exactly. It keeps coming,
Yeah.
it keeps coming. So that's
Yeah.
why I just want us to know that it's not what happens to us, but our response to what happens to us that hurts us the
Yes,
most. And that's what I believe.
exactly.
From this, that's just what
So
I've taken.
thank you so much, Marianne. And as we bring this session for this week to a close, we cannot leave our viewers, those who are watching right now. Please also take note that in case you're unable to watch to the end, the summary of today's session will also be on the blog for you to read. So one of the most important thing I want you to know is that at the very heart of our circle of influence is our ability to make and keep commitments. Marianne had also
Yeah.
mentioned this before. So because of the commitment now, as part of this book, we're going to be doing a 30-day challenge for those of us who
Yeah.
can follow it. A 30-day challenge. And that 30-day challenge is, I don't know, I hope you can still see my screen. If you're watching and you can see the screen, please drop a comment saying that you can see my screen. And the challenge number one is simply try it and see what happens. For 30 days, work only in your circle of influence. Be a light, not a judge, and set an example instead of being a critic. Instead of criticizing people, bring out the best in them. Talk about the good sides about them. Admit that you are wrong when you are wrong and correct yourselves. Learn from mistakes promptly. And then just do this for the next 30 days and see how your life surprise, should I say, magically transforms into the proactive lifestyle.
Yeah,
So in 30
exactly.
days, and in 30 days time, we'll meet on the February 24th. February 24th, we'll be talking about the fifth habit of highly effective people. You know, every weekend we'll be doing this. Today is just the first habit. Next weekend, we'll be talking about the second habit of highly effective people, which talks about begin with the end in mind. Then secondly, it says for a full day, let's say tomorrow, you can choose tomorrow, you can choose on Monday. Listen to the languages you use and to the language of the people around you. How often do you use and hear reactive phrases such as, if only I can do this, I can't do this, or I have to do this? Just be observant and see how these words are used, because they actually affect your thinking and your the way you respond. So, and finally, anticipate a reactive response. Just assume that there's going to be a problem between you and your colleague or someone, and anticipate a reactive response in a future situation based on past experience. Evaluate it within your circle of influence. We're not saying you should take that reactive response. Visualize a proactive response and then commit to choosing consciously based on this activity. So this quick exercise will empower you to shift from the reactive approach to the proactive approach, fostering personal growth in navigating life's challenges. So, having said this, I'm really glad that we've been able to have this session today. So, what I'm going to say is if you want to join us, please just visit the website showing on the screen to join us, or join the upskill community by sending me a private message. Madam Aisha is here. She says, this is very interesting and mind-blowing. Madam, we want to say thank you for joining us. And Voice of Africa is also watching. We also say thank you for joining us. This is Mr. Christian. We'll be having him very soon in one of these weekends. So I want to say thank you all. Please watch this video again. It's less than 45 minutes today, and I'm glad we were able to keep to time. Thank you so much, Mary Ann, and I'm
You're
glad you were able to make
welcome.
out time for this. So please
I'm glad
feel free
I
to watch
was.
this
I'm glad I
video.
was.
Feel free to watch this video as a replay anytime you're watching, and please drop your comments with other people you want them to experience positive change in their workplace. Thank you, Christabel, for the work you're doing behind the scene, and God bless every one of you. I want to say, Marianne, final words, please, so that we can say good night.
Yeah, so my final words are, while actions are chosen, consequences are governed by natural law. I want us to reflect
Wow.
on that, and
While
it
actions
will
are
enable us to
chosen,
know, yes, while
consequences are
actions are
governed by natural
chosen,
laws.
consequences are governed by natural law. So, as
Wow.
a proactive person, you must know that there are different pathways that will still lead you somewhere, and that those
Wow.
results that you will get at the end are results that
Yeah.
were caused by the choices that you made, and those
Beautiful.
results are
Beautiful.
constant.
Exactly.
That's it.
Thank you so much. So happy
Thank you guys
that
for having
you
me.
did it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be leaving now. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, till next weekend. My name is Sylvester. Do have a great night. 45 minutes